Did you know that according to the Dartagnon website, Americans spend $130 million a year on fast food? Yet despite the ubiquitousness of the hamburger, I wonder how many in the audience have made one themselves. Growing up, I watched my father make some of the best food I've ever eaten, and following his steps, I've come to be able to make a pretty good hamburger myself. All in all, I want to teach you the origin of the hamburger, how to make my family recipe, and other ways to make a hamburger besides just grilling it on a pan. The origin story of the hamburger is one dripping not just with grease, but with misinformation and coincidence. According to Eric Ovgang of the Washington Post, the hamburger has many distant relatives and false inventors. One of the relatives is a Roman mincemeat sandwich with nuts and spices mixed in, recovered from a 1st century Roman cookbook. On screen is an image of the recipe made with modern tools, but the same recipe. Many conflicting records from many eateries around the country at different times pin themselves as the creator of the hamburger steak sandwich. But the truth of the matter lies in the name of the aforementioned dish. The hamburger steak was a meal of minced meat and onions, popularized in the late 1800s when meat grinders became more publicly available. Many restaurants that served the hamburger steak also served it with bread or also served sandwiches. And so by the 1880s, making a hamburger steak into a sandwich was a foregone conclusion. But I'm going to walk you through how to make a hamburger. Now, of course, to do that, first I will need to assemble the patty. First, you grab a handful of ground beef about the size of a baseball. Then you press down while grasping at it, and then rotate your hands around. Press and grasp, and then flip it over to the other side. Press and grasp, until you have a patty about the size and shape of a hockey puck. Now forgive me, I had to pause to wash my hands. It's important to always wash your hands after dealing with raw meat. Now I will show you how to season the patty. According to my father's recipe, we use McCormick Montreal steak seasoning, white pepper, and salt, but I prefer garlic salt. Now, the recipe doesn't have the exact amounts measured out, but typically 2 to 3 shakes of each, or like 5 light taps, is enough. Then, you place your seasoned patty on a pan at a medium flame. We do our burgers medium well, so we flip it over 4 times. You let the patty sit for 4.5 minutes, flip it over, let it sit another 4.5 minutes, flip it over, let it sit another 4.5 minutes, then flip it over, and this last flip is optional. If you want cheese on your burger, flip it over one more time. Place your slice of cheese on the patty and let it sit for 2.5 minutes. Then remove the patty from the pan with a spatula and place it onto a plate. If you're using a paper plate, place a paper towel across the plate to absorb the juices before you put the patty on. But now that I've shown you how to make a hamburger, I feel like it's important that you learn other ways to make them, and how to top them once you have a complete one. Note that from now on, because of how PowerPoint handles recordings, because I paused to wash my hands, there will be pauses between each slide. My apologies. Now, several of the ways to cook a burger differ from my method, while others are similar, and the descriptions of the ones on screen are recovered from the D'Artagnan website. Some, such as steaming a burger, results in an overall soft patty that is easy to chew through, whereas broiling a burger, for example, leaves it with a crunchy crust on the outside while the juice is still retained, unlike a well-done burger, which has said crust, but the juice is all left. But the most popular way to make a burger, other than pan frying it, is to char grill it, which leaves it with a smoky flavor and charred bits on the outside. But some would argue that how you top the burger is just as important as how you make the patty. I, however, keep my burgers pretty simple, with a slice of cheese, some pickle slices, and a moderate amount of ketchup. Everyone has unique tastes, however, and YouGov poll was made to gauge the tastes of Americans regarding their toppings of choice, the results of which are on screen. Lo and behold, they confirmed what I always thought, that my tastes are fairly basic. Altogether, you scarfed down how the hamburger came to be, how to make a hamburger in several ways, and once you've digested this information, I hope I've instilled in you a hunger to experiment with making your own hamburger steak sandwiches.